Dean Lockhart, closed with the Conservatives. 6 minutes, Mr Lockhart.
Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. We've heard a number of concerns expressed by members across the Chamber this afternoon about the future prospects for Scotland's trade. I rarely find myself to be on the optimistic side of a debate, but I would like to address some of the concerns raised by having a look at Scotland's current trading position. 61% of our trade is with the rest of the UK. 17% is with the EU single market. In fact, the value of our exports to the EU have declined since 2010. Meanwhile, our exports to the rest of the world have been increasing in recent years and now represents 23% of our trade. Given that 90% of the future world economic growth in the next 10 years is going to be outside of Europe, it's vital that we help Scottish business gain further access to these fast-growing markets. To explore how we can take advantage of these trading opportunities, I want to briefly deal with continuity of trading arrangements before moving on to future trading agreements. At the moment, more than 5% of our total trade is governed by existing EU free trade agreements with third countries. One of the key objectives of the UK Trade Bill is therefore to roll over these existing EU deals as smoothly and as quickly as possible. And to address some of the concerns that James Kelly raised, the UK Minister for Trade Policy, George Hollingbury, made it clear in his evidence to the Finance and Constitution Committee that we must ensure that these trade agreements continue to be in place on the day we leave the EU. The intention is to alter these trading arrangements as little as possible, and continuity is all about giving certainty to business, consumers and our trading partners. Speed will be of the essence. My colleagues have made it clear today that the proposals contained in the SNP's trade paper would undermine these objectives. Requiring the agreement of the Scottish Government, requiring the agreement of the Scottish Government and the Scottish Parliament for the rollover of existing EU trade deals is not only incompatible with a devolution settlement, but it would delay the process. It would defeat the commercial necessity for continuity, certainty and speed in rolling over these existing trade deals. I'll give way to the Minister.
Does the member expect that we're going to roll these deals, or the UK government is going to roll these deals over when we're heading towards a no-deal Brexit?
Dean Lockhart.
These deals the UK will replace the EU with the third countries using the existing trade agreements in place. So that would be the way that would work. Yes, it would. Now, I want to turn to how future trading agreements will be negotiated, agreed and implemented. A number of members, including Gordon Lyndhurst, Rachel Hamilton, highlighted that withdrawing from the EU will give us the opportunity to shape our own trade opportunities and expand our trade with some of the fastest growing economies in the world, including China and India. Our current exports to these markets are marginal. For example, less than 2% of our exports go to China and less than 1% go to India. But when it comes to the question of how Scotland should approach future free trade agreements, the countless policy papers issued by the SNP have painted a confusing picture. On the one hand, in the trade paper we are debating today, the SNP argues that the specific needs of Scotland's economy must be fully reflected in future deals negotiated by the UK Government. And for this reason, it is proposing a veto at every stage of the preparation, negotiation and ratification of any UK free trade agreement. But on the other hand, the SNP's policy of a differentiated approach to Europe, of remaining in the single market, would hand significant powers over future trade agreements back to Brussels. This would mean that all future trade agreements for Scotland would have to reflect the widely conflicting interests of 27 other EU member states, with the specific needs of Scotland's economy being marginalised and diluted, and with no veto rights for the Scottish Government or this Parliament. Presiding Officer, the SNP's position in relation to Scotland's future trading arrangements is contradictory, confusing and lacks credibility. Our approach is to get the best future trade deals for Scotland as an integral part of the UK economy. Murdo Fraser made the point, I need to make progress. The needs of Scotland's key economic sectors are closely aligned with the rest of the UK, whether it's financial services in Edinburgh and London, manufacturing in Glasgow and the Midlands, or fisheries in the North East and Cornwall. The needs of the Scottish economy are closely aligned, and the best way to achieve this is for the Scottish Government to work closely with the UK Government to ensure Scotland's interests are reflected in future deals. There is work to be done in this area, but the Finance Committee heard many examples of how Scotland's trading interests can be fully reflected in future UK-wide deals. The Scotland Office is actively involved in developing trade policy. Scotland's 59 MPs represent the interests of our trade policy in the UK Parliament, and there are monthly policy roundtables held at senior official levels to discuss trade policy. There is scope for consultation, there is scope for scrutiny, and there is scope for amendments to future trade policy, but there should be no veto. Presiding Officer, Scotland's trading future can be positive if the Scottish Government works together with the UK Government to enter new trade deals with fast-growing economies globally, but only in a manner that is compatible with the existing United Kingdom's devolution arrangements. I support the amendment in Adam Tompkins' name.